But Miss Tyree,
I had to pull out the
what's
soapbox
your
now.
thoughts on what the woman said in the audio?
My
Um,
name is Jarrell.
well, number one, I really think that I really think that a lot of these conversations that we having are stupid, right? Because when it come all down
Mm,
to it, historically, we even in ancient African times, we've always raised other people's children,
mm.
right? That's something that we've always done. And to sit up there and say that people don't, it's unrewarding and it's unfulfilling. And what does a
I'm
man
coming.
get
Come on.
from raising um another man's child? I think it's kind of like it's disheartening to hear. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Especially coming from a community when a lot of us can't even trace our ancestry back but six generations, if that. A lot of us can't even trace our ancestry back but six generations. And we can't, a lot of us can't even go back that far. So for us to not even know um, um, where we even stem from, to me is crazy. You know what I mean? And to know that traditionally, when we were brought to this country, our men were actually used for breeding as breeding bucks, and they literally had hundreds of children that they had to get sold, and it's just so much to it. And I really don't even want to get too deep into the conversation because I think it's rooted in ignorance, right? The number of children that women in our community had to take in and raise that were not their own, from men who laid up and had women with children that weren't even theirs, that women wasn't even like I said, Noble, I don't want to keep rambling because there's just so much to it. And I think a lot of these conversations that are being had are rooted in ignorance. I don't think that women now are having any more babies out of wedlock than they did back then,
Right.
right? A lot of those babies were either given away to other family members and raised up, or either if you really dig and you really talk to a lot of the people in the families, especially down here in the Bible Belt, a lot of those babies were unalived at birth to keep the secret of that woman's pregnancy. There's so much to it, right? That women are not having more children out of wedlock now. They were having just as many, if not more, children out of wedlock back then, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, right? So I, I'm just confused. And being someone who was raised by a stepfather, right? Because my stepfather raised me, and what did he get? He got a lot of love, right? He got cared for, and even in his death, he still gets honored. He still gets praised, and he gets venerated. I'm pretty sure that his biological children are not venerating him in his death, and are not venerating him, but I do. You know what I mean? So I think that, and then all of my uncles have raised children that were not theirs. You understand what I mean? Those are my cousins. Those are his children. They were the ones that walked those children down the aisle. Those children see my uncles as their grandfathers. Those are their grandchildren. My grandmother is their grandma. They still come around all these years later. 20, we're talking about 20 plus years later, we still have cousins, and I still have people in our family that are not biological children of um my uncles, right? I still have cousins that I'm not biologically related to. So to make it seem as if there isn't a reward attached for a woman or a man who raises another um, man's child, I think is a very ignorant statement to make. And then you're talking about just relationships. What about the number of children who are given up for adoption and family members are raising them? You understand what I mean? I think that when it come all down to it, y'all really need to stop having these crazy ass conversations because you literally are creating an environment that is hurting the very thing that makes our community unique and makes our community dynamic strong anyway. Like a lot of stuff that we did traditionally when it came to children, especially the ones out of wedlock. What about the children in our community that were historically products of rape? You know what I mean? By um, family members, by the white man. You know what I mean? Like it's just too much to even talk about, to just focus on. And whoever that woman is, I mean, I don't know, but I will say this before I let Judge speak. I really think that, dang, I really think that, I really think that people who are already parents really need to do some serious dating, some serious deep dive into who they're getting in relationships with before they start letting their children just call people dad, or call people mom. You understand what I mean? To make sure that if they are bringing people into this life, it bringing people into their children's life, that they're actually going to treat them decently, and they're not just going to be in their life, and then whenever it doesn't work out between them and the parent, then the child is like thrown away too. Like I said, I don't, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's so many different things that go into this conversation. To sit up there and tell a man that he's weak for raising another man's child is is a very fucked up thing to say. Like my grandfather,
it doesn't make sense.
The man who I call my grandfather is actually my great uncle. My mom was raised by her brother, by her uncle. You understand what I mean? So you mean to tell me that he's weak because he went and he took his niece out of a situation of neglect and raised her? Make this shit make fucking sense.
Yeah, let me. Look. I'm not gonna go as far as to say a man that makes a conscious decision to assume a stepfather role is a weak man. But like I was live on my main page for 44 minutes with this same topic before they banned me last night because they didn't like what I was saying. But what I said last night is that I had to inform people. There was 300 some people in the room. To the ladies, it's not a lot of people in here right now, but listen, Kevin Samuels and this Manosphere space and these red pill guys, these are not the people that are telling like young men to, not deal with single mothers. It is their mothers, it is their grandmothers, it is their aunties, it is their godmothers. It's all the women that really love and care about them and their family. These are the people that are telling young men, do not deal with single mothers. Don't assume the stepfather role. Don't possibly subject yourself to everything that can come along with that. If this woman has a daughter, you don't want to be accused of doing something that you didn't do. You don't want those accusations to hurt your life, to hurt your career. It is the women that love and care about these men that are telling them these things. And like I said last night, and I'm gonna say this again, I want to hear what both of you have to say to what I'm about to say. What I've personally seen in my young life, I've only seen women that are actually single mothers and women that have daughters that are single mothers that they were being sexually irresponsible or they made like mistakes. These are the only group of women that I see like jacking the whole being a stepfather thing. But what I also see is that these same women, they don't want their son, they don't want their brother, they don't want the men in their family that they love and care about to assume a stepfather role. They don't want them dealing with certain type of women. But they want somebody else's son, they want somebody else's brother to be a sucker for them and or their daughter. That's what I honestly see. So I know you don't have children, Miss Tyree. I don't know about you, Melanated Judge, but Miss Tyree, and I don't know if your brother has kids. I know you have a brother. I don't know if your brother has kids. Your brother does have kids. Okay, but and I don't know if your brother got married. I don't know if he got all his kids with the same woman. But hypothetically, let's say your brother was childless, and he came to you and your sister, and he's like, oh, and I don't know, is your brother older than you or younger than you?
He's younger than me by 5 years, so he's getting ready to be 38.
Okay, your brother's a grown man, so most people in his age range is probably gonna have, you know, as people get older, like men and women, most people, it's gonna be kind of hard to find somebody that don't got at least one kid. But Miss Tyree, when your nephews get older, when your nephews go to college, if your nephew come home, yeah, Joe, I would love you to come up here because you and Miss Tyree in the same age range. Um, when your nephews get older, Miss Tyree, and he come home and he bring Jasmine home and he introduced Jasmine to you, the whole family, and y'all vet Jasmine. Y'all like, oh, I rock with Jasmine. She cool. But when Jasmine leave, hey, Auntie Tyree, and he say, hey, everybody, I didn't tell y'all this while she was here. I didn't tell y'all this beforehand, but Jasmine got two kids by two different men. Are you going to encourage your nephew that's childless and got a whole life ahead of him to pursue that situation out of love? If you have a son, are you gonna tell your son to be a stepfather? So I want both of the ladies, I want both of y'all to speak on that. Starting with you, Miss Tyree.
I guess for me, my opinion would be biased because that's literally how my stepfather came for me and my sister because I have a twin,
Right,
right? So
right,
when he met my mom, it was two of us, right? And he got with my mom and he raised me and my sister. So I wouldn't go and tell him not to get with somebody who had already had two kids. You understand what I mean? Like, I would be more concerned about her as an individual and who she was and how she treated her children in more than her having two kids, right? But that's just me. Like I said,
right.
I was raised by a stepfather. Like my family has always welcomed women who have had prior children into our family. Like my grandma them and my mom and them, my auntie them and them, they never set up and told my uncle them not to raise another woman's children. Like that's just not who we were, right? That's not historically what we did. And my grandmother had six kids, and five of them were boys. No, four of them were boys. And all four of her boys got with women who already had children and raised those children. And even after the fact that they had broken up, those children are still a part of our family. 30 years later, those children are still part of our family. So, like I said, I'm biased in that because I've seen that my whole entire life. So I can't say no. I'm gonna tell him no because she got a baby, but that's just me.
Okay.